Fellas, thank you for clicking on this video. I'm assuming if you're here, you too have been having problems, or at least you think you've been having problems with Black Ops Cold War's hit detection. I've been thinking I've had a lot. However, I'm not entirely sure that hit detection and poor netcode are entirely to blame. Knowing Call of Duty, it probably is. Probably is, but I think a lot of people have discovered a different issue, and I'm here to test it today. It's likely not just netcode and hit detection. It's probably a mixture of netcode, because Call of Duty usually doesn't have the best netcode and hit detection. I know, shocker. But it's also probably the way they balance bullet velocity now. I know bullet velocity has become very, like, a huge part of Call of Duty with Warzone, and you need to have the monolithic suppressor, and you need to be able to fire, and you have your max damage at long ranges, right? We all know that now. It seems to be a much bigger issue in Cold War. I don't know why they've chose to balance it this way, but it's a huge difference, and I'm about to show you with a bunch of different guns in the game that you're probably using often, and what attachments might affect it really bad versus what you should be considered to use. Essentially, if you're using an attachment that says it decreases bullet velocity or effective damage range, but more importantly, bullet velocity, you're going to have a tougher time hitting enemies. It feels like in a lot of cases, and I've had this problem myself, people are outrunning your bullets, and they might be. They might be outrunning your bullets. It sounds weird, but I've got some footage to show you and try to describe how it might be affecting your game. Real quick, I want to say, if you're new here, I encourage you to subscribe. I don't normally do content like this, but I have been playing a lot of Call of Duty lately. I really enjoy Warzone. Might be some more Cold War content, but either way, I encourage you, if you find this informational, to subscribe and consider sticking around. Thank you. And of course, leave a like. Appreciate it. All right, let me show you some guns. We're just gonna jump right into it. All right, here we are in Miami with my buddies in a custom game, and I am using the M4 with all attachments that increase bullet velocity. Now, it's not very easy to determine this by watching the footage, so I encourage you to focus on the audio and listen for the initial shot and the hit marker. It's not too unusual. It sounds kind of like it might be if you're one of the longest points on any of the map, right? You're shooting at somebody far away. But now listen to it when you have attachments that decrease bullet velocity. Okay, see, we're already having a massive difference. And this is with the first AR you unlock, one of the guns that a lot of people will be using quite a lot for a long time. M4 is always a very common staple gun in Call of Duty. We're going to get into a few other guns in just a moment to really kind of hammer home how big of a difference this might be making in your game. Next up, we have the MP5, and first off, yet again, we have all the attachments that increase bullet velocity to the maximum step. Okay, see right there, that's kind of a huge difference between firing and hitting. The travel time is significant, even with it maxed out. Listen to it with all the attachments that decrease bullet velocity. Okay, see, like, this is it's starting to make a gigantic difference. And I understand this is not a normal sight line for you to be shooting, but it's not super uncommon either. Maybe with an SMG, it's not what you'd be normally shooting at. Like, you probably wouldn't fire at this target at this distance and expect to kill them with an MP5, but that's significant. And even though this is a huge distance, this affects your game even close up. I promise it does. This stat is a huge deal. It is going to affect your game at all distances. Next up, to get a little bit of different perspective, we're using a sniper rifle. And of course, as you're about to see, this is going to have very little bullet travel time when you max out the stat. And it should. It's a sniper rifle, right? This is the gun that is meant to be used at long ranges. So take a look. All right, so right there, you know, not too huge of a difference, but with a sniper rifle, watch how drastically it changes the gun when I use attachments that decrease the stat. EKA. I don't know about you, but that makes that gun unusable. That nearly makes the gun worthless. This is a gun that you expect to be nearly hit scan for its speed. You almost require it to be that because it's a single shot. Oftentimes, if you miss your shot, you are dead. It renders it useless. And this is what one of the suppressors you unlock and a shorter barrel. One of those attachments is meant to increase your aim down sights time, so a lot of people are likely to be using it because of quickscoping in the game. This makes the gun useless. All right, finally, we have the Milano, and I know this isn't a lot of people's favorite gun. It was overpowered in the beta, but nowadays I don't think many people are using it. Could be wrong. But it still makes a huge difference with this gun. Let's listen to it with attachments that increase the range. It's already significant, even with attachments that increase it. So let's see what it's like with attachments that decrease it. Okay, so you're seeing it at a long distance, this gun is almost unusable with those attachments. And of course, again, reiterating, this is not a normal distance to use really any gun in these games. It's a very long distance, but I wanted to illustrate how big of a difference this can make with the guns you are likely using in the game. Now, of course, every gun has a different stat for bullet velocity, so even with ARs, it's probably gonna vary a lot. But these are some of the most common guns, or guns you get early in the game that you're gonna have leveled up quite a lot by the time you get to level 50 or whatever. These are guns you're gonna be using a lot. This is a huge deal. This is not described well in the game how big of a difference this makes. And for me personally, I've been thinking the entire time this is probably hit detection because that's usually what we all blame Call of Duty on, right? It's probably a mixture of hit detection because it's Call of Duty and these attachments that increase or decrease bullet velocity. Something to keep in mind is even if you're using all the attachments that increase bullet velocity, your muscle memory has likely changed due to using the lower bullet velocity attachments. Your muscle memory changes, you lead targets differently, you aim at targets differently because you're more used to compensating subconsciously for those other attachments. It's something that really changed the game because I'm not even, I'm min-maxing the guns, but this is a huge deal. This changes the gun drastically, makes it almost unusable in some aspects. Lastly, I have a clip that I try to illustrate just how much this can change your game in the short range, and it's really hard to represent this adequately because there's a lot of human error and things like this. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to react to him hitting my crosshair and clicking. A lot of times I'm likely leading the target because that's what I've been taught to do by muscle memory in the games, but it's still a pretty good representation. I cannot hit him accurately every single time by reacting, and he's only what maybe 15 feet away from me? Just listen and try to react. It's not a perfect representation, but I tried to get something to show you guys. Now again, I know it's not perfect, but think about how often you're doing something like that when somebody crosses into your sights and you're shooting and they're, the strafing speed's so fast in this game, they're zooming around right in front of you and you're having trouble hitting them. Compile that with the hit detection, these attachments, and their movement speed. It might just seem like it's all hit detection's fault, but in reality, it's probably the gun, hit detection, and how fast people move in this game all together. It doesn't make for great feeling gunplay at all. It makes it feel very inconsistent because nothing seems to make sense. These attachments make a huge difference. It's just interesting to look at and try to quantify it. Again, I know these tests aren't perfect, but I think they do describe the problem with the game, at least to a small degree. For now, in your game, if you're playing Cold War consistently in multiplayer, I would recommend not using these guns that decrease bullet velocity. So, suppressors, shorter barrels, anything like that. Those are generally the attachments that change it the most. I just want to say as we close out the video, thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video and found it informative. I very much so appreciate it, helps out the channel a lot. And let me know if you've been having these problems in the comments. I'm curious how your games have been because I've heard such mixed things about this multiplayer, more so than ever, that I'm really curious what people have to say about it. Otherwise, subscribe if you want to see more content from me. I play a lot of Warzone. I appreciate you guys watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you.